Just keep going.
All right, here we are. We are live. This is the Denim Dungeon. I am your host, Brian Rennick, and I am joined, as always, by that guy sitting over there, my co-host, but more importantly, my good buddy, Tim Sprinkles. Tim, how's it going, man?
Not too bad, Brian. What's going on? I got to play a little golf today, Brian.
I heard. I texted you earlier. I was asking for some feedback on an article, and I said, "Are you busy?" You said, "I'm about to tee off,"
Not just
and I
any
was like,
article.
"Man."
Not just any article. An article that's blown up.
It
That's
has.
put you on the map. You
It's
are
definitely.
you
I'll
are
say
famous, my
it's
friend.
it is undoubtedly the best performing article I've written for the Web Zone. And I'll be honest, I haven't written that many. Mainly because we've been focusing on trying to get this podcast up and off the ground, and this is maybe the next evolution. And so we are playing around with this. As you could tell, we didn't have an opening. We don't have any graphics. This is the free version of StreamYard. We just want to, we're not ready to commit until we can fully, I don't want to say guarantee, but at least be relatively assured that Tim's internet can handle video streaming. And
Giving it a shot.
we're giving it a shot. We were already on here for probably a good 20 minutes before we went live, just going back and forth, and probably wasted some good internet for you. So
Yeah, I was like,
we'll
come on,
see.
man. Let's just hit the record button and let's get going with this.
Yeah, we'll see.
So
We'll see if we last.
tell the viewers how many reads has your article had so far today? Because it was posted today, right around midday, right?
Yeah, so it went up at I think almost exactly noon, and so far it is at 31,137 views. So
In 10 hours,
yeah,
you've reached 31,000 reads on
eyeball.
your article.
Yeah,
That's fantastic, man.
thank you.
Congratulations. That's a big
I'm
deal.
excited about it. I mean, I have no idea in the grand scheme of things if that's a lot, if that's not a lot, but I do know that it's a lot for anything that I've written. And so there we go. I'm
I
gonna
mean,
chalk that up in the win column for me.
obviously, it was the edits that were made
For
and
sure.
the second
Absolutely.
opinion. No,
No,
just
no, but
kidding. It was
legitimately,
phenomenal.
I did send it to you, and your feedback had me restructure it a little bit, and I think it flows better. And basically, the article was, or the title of it is actually the title of this stream right now, and it is that the 49ers already have a first round quarterback to develop on the roster. And
That's true.
so and hey, let's talk about it a little bit, right? So I mean, obviously we're talking about Josh Rosen, and I think or at least people don't remember, Josh Rosen was the 10th overall pick in the 2018 draft. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not that long ago.
That was the Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Lamar Jackson, Josh
Yeah.
Rosen draft.
Yeah. Josh Rosen went 10th overall to the Cardinals. Baker went first overall to the Browns. Darnold went third overall to the Jets, and then Lamar Jackson went at 32 to the Ravens. And then obviously a year later, he won the NFL MVP. And it's obvious that Josh Rosen, as it currently stands, was the worst quarterback in that draft. But
well, hold on.
yeah,
Like he got a bum rap. I mean,
I
he
agree.
went to a really terrible organization to start. He went to the Cardinals, who let's be frank, like they had a defensive minded head coach for him to start his career, no one to develop him, and they had a terrible offensive line.
Yeah, he
And
sacked 45 times in 14 games.
he's not the most mobile guy in the world. He has pretty
No.
good footwork. He's able to kind of work through the pocket, shuffle up, move side to side, but he's not a Kyler Murray, somebody that is going
No.
to basically create, like a schoolyard type play. And he gets traded to the Dolphins,
Yep.
and the Dolphins
After a year.
aren't Yeah, 1 year, he goes to another defensive head coach with
Mhm.
another
In his
shitty
first year.
offensive line. Yeah,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
it
Traded
you
away
know,
their left tackle
so
before the
he
season started.
and I mean, I can't tell you how much confidence means to a young quarterback. And, you can have all
Mhm.
the success in the world in college. And when you move on to that next level, whatever it be, like if you're a high school quarterback with a ton of success and you go to a college program that sucks or they have a terrible offensive line, you're not going like, I'm sorry, but you're not going to be a high achieving player if you don't have any pieces around you or if you're not just the absolute best athlete on the field. And Josh
Right.
Rosen isn't the best athlete on the field. He's a
No.
he's a really, really good quarterback
Mhm.
when his confidence is high. And
Yeah.
if you remember, we talked about this long before we were on the Denim Dungeon. We were doing another podcast, and we had actually kind of broken down this draft. And Josh Rosen
That's
was
right,
the
we
guy
did.
that I picked him in regards to I thought he was going to be the guy
Mhm.
that was gonna have the best career in the NFL, and I remember an interview that took place, and he came out of college with so much confidence in himself, so
Yeah.
much belief in his abilities. That was the
Chosen
reason why
Rosen.
that's why I thought he was it, like, he had the ability to overcome some adversity and achieve, and unfortunately, that part I was wrong on. He definitely didn't have the ability to overcome all of the adversity that was thrown at him,
Yeah.
but I'm really excited to see what he looks like if he gets a shot in a Kyle Shanahan-led offense.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the situation he was in, I mean, and you highlighted it a little bit. Again, he got drafted 10th overall, which automatically comes with a significant amount of expectation from fan bases, from people around the league. You automatically have some pretty sky high expectations. He goes to a team with a first time head coach, and his offensive coordinator was Mike McCoy, who's a retread. You know, he was an offensive coordinator in San Diego. He went to Denver and he was the head coach there for a while, and then he was fired and then hired by Arizona to be the offensive coordinator. And he was so bad at his job that he got fired mid-year, and Byron Leftwich took over. And Byron Leftwich was the quarterbacks coach then, and now Leftwich is the OC in Tampa Bay, but so automatically he's at a disadvantage just based on where he got drafted, who his coach is, who his offensive coordinator is. And then after one season, Wilkes gets fired. And I mean, I would argue rightfully so. They were terrible. And so bad that they got the first overall pick in the draft. And the guy that they hired was Cliff Kingsbury, who came in and said, "Look, I have a man crush on Kyler Murray and have had one since I was, at Texas Tech. I really love this kid. I wanted him at Texas Tech,
Mhm.
and he really fits the system that I want to implement." And so 1 year after being drafted 10th overall and not even really given a chance to succeed in his first season, he gets traded. Well, first they draft Kyler Murray,
They draft
and
Kyler
then
Murray.
he gets traded to
Yeah.
the Dolphins for a second round pick, which arguably does tell you that the Dolphins saw some value in him. But at the
Mhm.
same time, he gets traded to the Dolphins. And like you said, Brian Flores, he's a first year head coach, and they're in full on rebuild
Well, that
mode,
was the season
possibly
where they
tank.
were tanking for Tua. If
Right.
you
Tank for
remember
two.
that
Exactly.
that was
Exactly.
their whole thing was tank for Tua. So it was the writing on the wall was there
Mhm.
early on in the season where Josh
Already for
Rosen
him.
he was not the guy in Miami. So
Yeah.
I mean, just imagine going into your job knowing that like your time is expiring and someone's coming in to replace you.
Right.
Like your confidence is going to be crushed.
Yeah, and you also have a guy there in Ryan Fitzpatrick who has had
Fitz
success in many
Fitz magic.
stops. And sorry, Fitzmagic. You're right.
Yeah, I love that guy.
I just continue every time I picture Ryan Fitzpatrick, I just think about him in
In the
that press
Deshaun
conference
Jackson
with
garb.
Deshaun Jackson's shirt. and his
So
bushy ass
baller.
beard and just looked great. But
I love
yeah,
that in that interview, he looks and he goes, "Oh, no, no, I'll get you back your clothes in a minute." Like, that's my bad.
yeah, he's
Like,
talking to Deshaun. Deshaun's off on the side. Absolutely.
shirtless coming into the press conference room.
But yeah, so he gets sent to Miami in a situation where I don't even think they set him up to succeed. And if I were the Dolphins and I gave up a second round pick, I would at the very least, I know that it was tank for Tua and that was the season where Tua ended up getting injured halfway through the season with his disgusting hip injury. But up until that point, it was like, this is, Tua Tagovailoa is God's gift to quarterbacking, and he's going to be an NFL superstar. And so fans down there and obviously the leadership was like, hey, if we don't play well, that's not necessarily the end of the world, because ultimately we are looking to possibly get, this kid that's coming out of Alabama. And so Rosen goes through a second year, only plays in 3 games and plays terribly. I mean, let's be perfectly honest. His play has been abysmal.
His
For
NFL career has been
correct, his
abysmal.
NFL career. I put the numbers in the article. He has seen action in 20 games in his career. So again, he hasn't started 20 games, but he's seen action in 20 games in his career. And has a 54.8 completion percentage.
Okay.
For 2,845 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 19 interceptions. So
Not good.
not good. In fact, in the article I wrote, yikes. But
Yeah.
but I put, and I just looked, I found 3. There were more, but I chose 3 different analyses of Josh Rosen leading up to the 2018 draft.
Right. This was coming out of college.
Correct. Coming out of UCLA, WalterFootball.com said Rosen has impressive footwork, and that leads to him throwing the ball accurately with good placement. His accuracy, timing, precision, and arm strength make him deadly to move the ball down the field in a blur. Matt Miller, who until recently wrote for Bleacher Report, he's the NFL draft scout. He's not an NFL draft scout. He's the NFL draft scout on social media. And he wrote, in terms of mechanics, accuracy, footwork, and touch, he's the best passer in the 2018 draft class. Again, we're talking about Baker Mayfield, Josh Rosen,
Sam Darnold,
Lamar Jackson. There were others I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. But he said he's an incredibly clean passer. His background as a tennis player is obvious in watching him take a 3 or 5 step drop, which is interesting because there's another NFL quarterback who was a tennis prodigy. In fact, at 12 years old, he was the top ranked tennis player in the state of Texas. His name is Drew Brees. So good comparison there. He's a prototype in his release and delivery and operates like an NFL quarterback on play action. He doesn't get rattled in the pocket despite a thin frame and tends to get better the more he's hit. That's very reminiscent of Jimmy Garoppolo. He has the arm strength to hit windows and has shown consistent touch in leading receivers upfield. He doesn't miss often. And then finally, Robert Mays, formerly of The Ringer, now of The Athletic and the host of the Athletic NFL show, said his footwork and mechanics stand out right away, even compared to other top-flight quarterback prospects in this draft. He consistently stayed under control, kept his balance, and delivered the football with precision. So again, precision is a key word here in this in his analysis, which is interesting because again, he struggled with completion percentage in the NFL, but precision is a.
But he's also not in an offense that's quarterback friendly.
True.
Like there are offenses like Shanahan's offense where guys are going to be pretty wide open. You go through some specific reads and you go through your progressions. And if you can throw the ball kind of within a 2 to 3 foot window, you're going to be very accurate and you're going to have a lot of success. Yeah. This is where Josh Rosen is. Like other offenses, like a Mike McCarthy led offense where he expects guys to win one-on-one. Like that is his offensive scheme. Not scheming guys wide open, but saying, I'm going to put you in a one-on-one position. You're going to win that one-on-one matchup. Now your accuracy has to go from a 3 foot window down to it's like a 1 foot window,
Well, and
right?
and that's Cliff Kingsbury's offense as well. Man, I got tongue tied today. You look at Kingsbury and he loves to run those 3-1 sets, right? Where you got 3 wide receivers on one side and you got one on the other side. That one this season is DeAndre Hopkins, but in past seasons, DeAndre Hopkins wasn't there. So, again,
I mean, you had Larry Fitzgerald, but
true. Yeah. But nothing else outside of that. I mean,
that's at the tail end of his career. That's not a guy who is.
They had Christian Kirk, who was there, but I mean, really no talent around him when he was in Arizona. But Mays goes on to say a significant chunk of his tape looks ripped directly from a quarterback fundamentals video. A number of other high-end college passers over the years have enticed teams with size, arm strength, and mobility, but have come with unrefined habits in the pocket. With Rosen, coaches know exactly what they would get in that regard. The way he deftly navigates the pocket to find solid throwing platforms opens up a few different aspects of his game. Although he isn't a running threat, he ran a 4.92 40 in the combine. The official scouting term for that is really slow. He's capable of escaping pressure, especially off the edge. By climbing the pocket and regaining his balance, he's able to make strong throws to secondary reads late in downs. He may lack the skill set to extend plays in the traditional sense, as more mobile quarterbacks can, but he can still hit on last-ditch throws by virtue of reestablishing command, even after he is pushed off his initial spot. So for me, in reading these pre-draft analysis, it says to me that Rosen has all the traits that really could lead to significant success in Kyle Shanahan's offense. It's that he's a traditional pocket passer, which Shanahan has talked about preferring over dual threat quarterbacks, mainly because he wants his quarterbacks to stay in the pocket, progress through their reads, and hit the guy that's going to be open, because in Shanahan's offense, there's always going to be somebody open. If you're scrambling, if you're running, you're going to miss those windows. And then, it's a free for all. Right. So he loves traditional pocket passers. Rosen has incredible footwork in the pocket, accuracy and touch, a strong arm, and the ability to escape pressure by navigating the pocket like a Tom Brady. So, he's not a gifted athlete in the traditional sense, and he's definitely not a dual threat quarterback like the top 4 prospects in this year's draft, which are Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, and Trey Lance. But I mean, again, if he's given an opportunity to develop, and that's the thing, I'm not arguing that the 49ers should start Josh Rosen, game 1 next year. What I am saying is Jimmy Garoppolo, based on what Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have said, Jimmy Garoppolo is coming back. Now, hopefully they restructure some of his deal to give them a little bit more cap space, right? So that he doesn't count as $27 million against the cap. And there's different things that they can do, including converting some of his salary into a bonus, which doesn't count against the salary cap, things of that nature. They can restructure it without really, he's not going to have to take a pay cut. They're just going to, move some things around to finesse.
Prod Marate is going to
exactly
he's going to be his wizardness on
exactly,
on this. But why, like, tell me, like, if you're Jimmy Garoppolo, why would you restructure your contract? Why would you even be willing to do that?
I mean, you're willing to do that so that the team can still bring in Trent Williams at left tackle, that they can extend Fred Warner. They can sign Jason Verrett. They can possibly re-sign K'Wan Williams. You restructure your deal because you're still going to get the money that was offered to you in that contract, but you're giving the team more flexibility to fill out the roster around you because you want to win a Super Bowl.
But in the same sense, you got to understand the 49ers hold the trump card in the sense that they could cut him. And they can say, you're guaranteed nothing.
Right.
And you're not going to make 27 million or anywhere close to that on the open market.
That's a great point. So, they do hold all the cards in that regard.
Right. So they could come to the
restructure, take it or leave it, basically.
Yeah. Let's come to the negotiating table. Here's the deal. We're either we're going to go on the restructuring route or you're getting cut. Your choice. And if I'm Jimmy Garoppolo, I'm taking that restructure.
100. Yeah. 12 times out of 10.
Yeah. So thinking back on the 2018 draft, we missed one quarterback who was drafted. He was drafted in the top 10. He went number 7.
Oh, Josh Allen.
That's right.
Yeah.
That dude was phenomenal.
There we go.
Who'd the 49ers pick? 2
At
picks later
9,
at 9.
Mike McGlinchey.
The Big Slim.
Big Slim. The Big Slim.
The big target on his back of this podcast.
Oh, man.
Mike McGlinchey.
49ers Twitter. He's got yeah.
Did you see his comments the other day? I think it was
Where he
yesterday.
basically admitted that he was inconsistent, and he recognizes why he was inconsistent, and that's the
he's
first
his
time that
biggest.
he's admitted it all season.
He's his biggest
Yeah.
enemy. Yeah, which is good. He obviously
Mhm.
like being able to recognize that you have issues and there are things you need to fix. That's step 1, right?
Exactly.
And hey, Glinch, good on you, man.
Yeah.
Understanding that you need to fix some things, get to it, because another year like you had, in 2020 ain't gonna cut it, man.
It's not. And so, like I said, I'm not advocating that Josh Rosen is going to start at quarterback for the 49ers next year. But what I am advocating is this. The 49ers have 40 free agents coming up. 40.
That's a lot, right?
That's a whole lot. They have 40 free agents coming up. Which, and as it stands right now, without cutting D Ford, without restructuring Garoppolo's contract, anything like that, they have I think close to $40 million in cap space, which sounds like a lot, but in reality, it's not especially much. When you think like Trent Williams is probably going to cost 18 to 20 million a season.
You got Trent, you got a left tackle, which is expensive. You got a starting cornerback you got to resign. That's expensive.
You've got 3 starting cornerbacks you need to resign. None of the cornerbacks are coming back outside of Tim Harris. Literally every cornerback and the starting strong safety are all free agents.
Oof.
So when you log on to 49ers Twitter and you see all of it clamoring for the 49ers to move up in the draft and get one of these stud quarterbacks, I understand it. I get it. Nobody is super happy with Jimmy Garoppolo right now, not because he's not good when he plays, but because he doesn't play as much as we need him to play. And the best ability in the NFL is availability, and right now he's failing that. So I think Jimmy Garoppolo is a good quarterback, and you saw what happened with the team in 2019 when he was healthy and he played every game. They were 13-3 and they made it to the Super Bowl. Was Jimmy Garoppolo the reason they made it to the Super Bowl? Absolutely not. But he was part of the reason why they made it. And so if you want to draft one of those guys, the best case scenario for the 49ers right now is the 10 spot, right? And the way
a lot of work, a lot of good things, a lot of things have to break the Niners' way.
Yes.
To get in that 10 spot. Like, let's just be real clear.
Right.
Real clear about it. Right now, the 49ers are like 16th.
15th. They're currently 15th. Yeah, they're 15th. Currently 15th. And if you are, if you're interested in rooting for teams to lose and things, for the 49ers to get the best, the best pick possible, right? So here's what you're rooting for. You want the Patriots to beat the Jets. You want the Vikings to beat the Lions. You want the Chargers to beat the Chiefs. You want the Cowboys to beat the Giants. You want the Broncos to beat the Raiders. And you want the 49ers to lose to the Seahawks, which we'll talk about in a little bit, is pretty damn likely. Right? So all of those things.
Not hating on it. Listen, we're not advocating for the 49ers to lose. We're just right now being realists and understanding who's out for the 49ers and what do the Seahawks have to play for.
Yeah. And again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But if all of those things happen, so again, Patriots over Jets, Vikings over Lions, Chargers over Chiefs, Cowboys over Giants, Broncos over Raiders, and a 49ers loss, that gives them the number 10 pick in the draft. Okay. So best case scenario is the number 10 pick. Lawrence, Fields, Wilson, and Lance will likely be gone by the number 10 pick, because there are teams,
which is crazy to think.
Yeah.
I mean, like back in 2018 when you had Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, and Josh Rosen go in the top 10. That was like back to like you had to go back to like 1984
Yeah.
when you had a QB draft with that much top end talent, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And to think like 2 years, 3 years later, we're kind of in the same situation where, and I don't know. Look, Baker Mayfield, you could say he's had an up and down career. You could say
Yes.
he started out poorly. He did a great job with his progressive commercials. I will give him that.
They are good.
He's right.
Is it
I think
progressive? I don't think it's progressive.
at home with
Maybe it
Baker
is.
Mayfield. At home with Baker Mayfield.
Is it? I
Oh
don't know.
no,
Maybe it's
it's not.
insurance.
Well,
Allstate? No. You're in good
no.
hands with Allstate.
I think it is progressive, but I'll check on
Anyway.
that in a minute. But Baker Mayfield, up and down career, it kind of feels like he's finding his own, right? When he has a running game that can support him. He has all the talent in the world around him. He had OBJ, he had Landry, he's got Njoku, he's got he's got Chubb, he's got just a ton of talent. And he kind of falls into that middle range in my mind quarterback. He's not an elite quarterback, but he's not a bottom tier quarterback either. He's highly accurate. He's mobile. He's pretty athletic for his size and his build.
Sure.
But is he a number 1 overall pick? I'd probably say no.
Well,
Sam Darnold,
not in that draft.
Sam Darnold has underachieved. He went to a shit
And
organization. The Jets are terrible.
Has he underachieved or has he been on the Jets?
Yes. And that's unfortunate for him because he was probably the number 1 prospect coming out of college in terms of, top to bottom mechanics, arm strength, mobility, size, all of that. Sam Darnold was it. And and the Jets are ready to move on from him because they have terrible leadership.
I don't know. I mean, Joe Douglas has kind of come out and given a vote of confidence, but they're picking 2. And after watching Justin Fields against Clemson last night, they might be like, yeah, no, we're going to roll the dice with Justin Fields.
But that doesn't, but Fields had a field day against Clemson, which is really, it's field day. But so you think about it like this. You gotta examine Fields' entire body of work, right?
For sure.
He kind of laid 2 stinkers against what was it, Northwestern and Indiana. You can't overlook those.
Yeah.
Yes, he had an outstanding high school career. Yes, he's shown flashes of brilliance. We're going to see a lot against Alabama about the quarterback that he is, right?
By the way, can you believe that Fields and Lawrence were both from Georgia? That's crazy to me.
There's so much talent down there. There's so much talent in the South. It's insane. So we're going to get to see real quick who Fields is. I don't think I've done some soul searching on this, and I don't think Trevor Lawrence lost the number 1 pick. For a second, I was like, oh man, what happened to Lawrence? But in a loss, in a game where his defense was non-existent, the dude threw for 400 yards and he had 3 touchdowns.
It's not like a quiet 400 yards though.
Say it again.
I know. I get it.
If my quarterback threw for a quiet 400
in a loss, that's my point.
Oh man, it's a quiet 400. It just really didn't pop. Come on, I'll take that all day.
Yeah. I tweeted out the one thing that I feel like I've noticed in Lawrence, and granted, I've seen probably 4 games total in his entire career, but there's a part of me that feels like he's a little bit too laid back. Like and again, I'm just watching him on TV. I have no idea, obviously this is full conjecture.
He's been the freaking golden boy for 3 years, man.
And that's my point. Like, that scares me a little bit. If I was a GM and I watched him in these games and, like I watch him fumble on the, when he fumbled in the third quarter and he just didn't seem bothered by it. And I don't know that.
I did see him come off the sideline though. And there was a teammate that gave him a tap on under the chin.
I saw that.
And it said, pick your chin up. Like,
yeah,
it was getting to him a little bit. Like he normally has success. And for him to experience that and to watch a teammate say, hey, pick it up. And he did. He picked his chin up.
Yeah.
He played loose. Like, I don't want a quarterback that's going to get super tight in a situation like that because, I mean, think back to, the greatest quarterback of the 49ers, franchise, and you have Joe Montana in Super Bowl 23. And in the tightest moment in the last drive, there's talk about him joking around with the team and saying, Harris Barton is like, he goes, "Hey, H, who's that in the stands over there?" John Candy, and they said like that relaxed demeanor put everyone at ease, and they were able to march down the field and score. That's what I feel like Trevor Lawrence has. I don't feel like people are seeing him smile after the game, and how could you want a quarterback that's smiling after a loss? Yeah, whatever, man. Like, the dude understood where his place is. He's the number 1 pick in the draft. Yeah, his team isn't going to win a national championship again. I'll just say,
he won it as a freshman.
Again. Yeah, he won a national championship. He already won a natty. So it's not like it's not like it's not like it's something he's never achieved.
Right.
He was there. He knows what it is. He's at a high level. He's going to make his money, man. Like, Trevor, I'm fine with that. But like, when you go down that draft, and then I was talking, like, you had Sam Darnold, and then you had Josh Allen, who is really hit for the Bills. I think he's the best quarterback in that draft. And I know we have Lamar Jackson, but I think career-wise, I think you're going to get the most out of Josh Allen.
100%. Yeah.
And then you had, out of that top 10, your fourth one was Rosen, and he's kind of stunk it up. So when you look at this draft, and this was my kind of point to kind of bring it full circle, you're looking at, you have 4 quarterbacks that you think are going to go in the top 10.
I think there's 6 that are going to go in the first round.
Probably. Two in the 18 draft were stunk it up, right?
Yeah.
Two really didn't make it. Darnold and Rosen.
Oh, Darnold and Rosen, yeah.
Darnold and Rosen.
They went to shit organizations.
So are these quarterbacks, right? Like, if you're drafting in the top 10, if you're drafting in the top 10 outside of the Dolphins, if they keep that pick,
that's what I was gonna say.
But they have Tua. They have Tua. They're not going to be drafting a Q. Maybe they will. This is the last time that, so all of our Dolphin fans out there that listen to this podcast, I know of one of you.
That's right.
This is mark our words here, or at least mine. This is the last time that the Dolphins are going to be drafting in the top 10 for the next probably decade. Okay. So is this that opportunity where you take to get one of those 4 guys? Do you sell on Tua?
I would say, because you're playing with house money. It's not like this is the one pick you have in the first round. You're gonna have another one,
right?
So,
but you're not going to have another one in the top 10 for a long time,
unless you trade this number 3 pick for a ransom, which you could.
Yeah,
you could.
Because, which, according to 49ers Twitter, is what you want to do, and you want to have another, like, you want to get two first round picks and a second, and they're going to get a haul if they trade that out.
And I don't know what teams would be willing to trade, but again, if the 49ers fall in love with a well, it can't be Lawrence. Lawrence is going 1, so then you got to wonder, are the Jets going QB or are the Jets going tackle, right? Because the tackle out of Oregon is a damn good prospect, arguably a generational prospect at tackle. Do you give it one more shot with Sam Darnold, and you have an epic offensive line, and you have a new offensive coordinator who may be able to get more out of him than that psycho Adam Gase who does smelling salts on the sideline? I don't know. That's a tough question, and that's why Joe Douglas makes millions of dollars, because I don't know if I can make that decision. But more than likely, I assume that they're going to move off Darnold and go with a Fields or a Wilson. So if you trade up into that 3 pick, you're hoping for, you're willing to say, I'm going to take whoever out of Fields and Wilson doesn't get drafted by the Jets. And But to get there, I mean, if you're the 49ers and you have the 10th pick, you're going to have to trade the 10th pick. You're going to have to trade your second round pick. You're going to have to trade next year's first round pick, and arguably maybe even next year's second or a third. That's a lot of draft capital to move up.
It's not worth
to
it,
get
man.
a quarterback that may or may not hit. That may or may not hit.
Like Josh Allen hit, and then Rosen didn't. Like when you look at these four, I'm looking at Trevor Lawrence. If he goes to, I mean, he's going to go to Jacksonville. That's a tough. It's hard to overcome that kind of incompetence of an organization. It's real hard. It's not like they have a bunch of pieces in place where they're just going to plug in and play Trevor Lawrence, and oh my God, he's the same. Like they have a whole lot of work to do.
Do you know what the rumor is though? To be fair, the Jaguars do have some pieces, right? They've got some pieces on the offensive side of the ball, in DJ Chark. That might be about it.
That's not a lot of pieces.
No, but they do have pieces on defense. So then you ask yourself, they have an incredible amount of cap space, and they're going to have Trevor Lawrence, who is supposed to be the best QB prospect coming out of college since Andrew Luck. Do you know what the rumor is in terms of coaching rumors there?
Yeah, Urban Meyer.
I mean, I have no idea if Urban Meyer can succeed in the NFL, but if he does, it would be with a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence.
I'll tell you what, college coaches that come into the NFL in their first job, it's rare that they are super successful. It doesn't happen often. It's usually their second job. And you can look at a lot of you can look at a lot of coaches. They don't hit all the time.
But I can think of three.
So go for it. Tell me, who are they?
Jimmy Johnson. Right?
Yeah.
This is almost unfair, but Barry Switzer.
Okay.
Because he just took over for Johnson and won a Super Bowl.
Right.
And then I would argue that Jim Harbaugh would be the third one for me.
He was successful, but even a coach like Pete Carroll, someone who is going to be a Hall of Fame coach.
Yeah.
He went to the
third job.
Yeah, people forget like where he started his career. And it took him some time to get some traction in the NFL. Look, we've done this debate back and forth over the last 5 minutes over Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence being successful. We're not even into that's the guy who's supposed to be a for sure thing, and there's still possibilities that he can't overcome the incompetence of Jacksonville
organization. Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's what people forget about when you talk about first round draft picks. In the NFL, it's not like the NBA. It's not even like Major League Baseball. If you have the first pick in the NFL draft, it's because you suck. You are terrible. And you get rewarded for that, arguably, But I mean, it kind of makes sense. Like if you're the NFL, if you have a team that sucks, you want them to be able to get the talent necessary to not suck anymore.
But it's different in the sense where in the NFL, it used to be you draft your quarterback, and then if you were the first overall pick, you had the first pick in the second round, the third round, the fourth round, and so on, and you're able to build these pieces where you can start to put talent around, and you suck for another year or two, and you still pick up another top 10 pick, and you go through that, and another potentially top 10 pick, and your quarterback is sitting behind a guy learning, not getting destroyed, not crushing his confidence. He's sitting on the sideline going, I can do this. I understand this offense. Get me out there. I'm ready. I'm going to be successful. We put these guys, I'm part of the NFL. The NFL puts players in, rookies in at such an early stage in a sink or swim situation, what happened to Josh Rosen, and it crushes his confidence, and he's not the same. If Josh Rosen had the opportunity to sit behind Jimmy Garoppolo for the next 2 years, Jimmy Garoppolo then goes on his way to wherever he's going to go.
He has 2 years left on his deal. That's why it'd be 2.
Josh Rosen I mean, he went to UCLA. He's not a dummy. He didn't have a great Wonderlic score, but he's not a dummy.
No.
Okay. He's going to study. He's going to learn Shanahan's offense, and I think he's going to be extremely successful. if he gets that opportunity. But if he gets thrown into the mix right away, who knows? He doesn't have any confidence.
And
One bad throw could crush him.
And here's the reality of the situation. Josh Rosen is younger than Joe Burrow, who was the first overall pick in this year's draft. Josh Rosen will be 24 in February, which means if he sits for 2 seasons behind Jimmy Garoppolo, learns the offense, digests it, proves himself in practice, the 49ers move on from Garoppolo, Josh Rosen would be 26 years old. Do you know how much draft capital it cost the 49ers to get Josh Rosen? None. None. And that's to me, it's like, why trading up, right? And mortgaging your future for a quarterback is a gamble. It's a huge gamble, because if that quarterback doesn't hit, you set yourself back 2, 3, 4 years. Easy. Josh Rosen was the 10th pick in the draft 2 years ago. Well, 3 years ago now. It's
3 years ago.
2021. You have a lottery ticket sitting on your roster already, and it costs you nothing.
All right.
Why not scratch off that lottery ticket, see what you have, and give yourself an opportunity to fill the holes that 40 free agents are leaving on your roster with cheap, talented, cost-controlled players. That's the name of the game.
All right, we're going to do a thought experiment. You ready?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to get in our DeLorean.
All right.
We're going to pump in 1.21 gigawatts. And you're going to go back in time to 2018. Okay? And you're going to immerse yourself in studying the draft like we did. And you're going to look at these quarterbacks, and we're going to specifically focus in on Josh Rosen. Okay. Very successful career at UCLA, right? Prototypical NFL quarterback coming out of college. Now, I want you to take that thought process and how you view Josh Rosen in 2018. I want you to insert him into this draft class of quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Where does he fall?
I mean, it's tough, but I would argue that he would knock Trey Lance out of the top 4.
Okay.
I don't think, and I think the reason is because Lance didn't play this year. So again, you have Lance as a top 4 quarterback in this draft based on his previous performance at North Dakota State. But Lance is a big time projection. I would almost argue that Mac Jones from Alabama might be a safer pick and prospect than Lance is. But and the other thing you have to understand is where is Trey Lance coming from, right? He's coming from North Dakota State. That's the same school that Carson Wentz went to. And Carson Wentz went number 2 overall behind Jared Goff.
Carson Wentz
is
lose
now
his job.
Broken. He's just straight up broken. And I don't know if it's because BDN Nick Foles won that Super Bowl the year that Wentz tore his ACL, when Wentz was well on his way to winning an MVP that season. I don't know if he just never recovered from that, but he has never been the same since he tore his ACL. And now he looks to be irrevocably broken, but I promise there's a team out there that will trade for him. I don't know who it'll be. Maybe it's the Colts. Maybe the Colts go with Rivers one more year, trade for Wentz, have him sit for a year, learn the offense. I mean, think about it, right? Who runs the Colts now? Frank Reich. Who was Wentz's offensive coordinator when he almost won an MVP? It was Frank Reich.
Right.
So there's a connection there.
That's a good way to connect the dots, man. That's good.
So
although I really would like to see what Bill Belichick could do with a Carson Wentz.
Yeah. I mean, regardless of his contract, there's going to be somebody that trades for him because there's enough quarterback needy teams that aren't going to be able to draft, a guy in the first round. And so, in comparison to the four guys that are the consensus top four right now, Lawrence, Fields, Wilson, and Lance. I think Rosen would push Lance out, but I'm not positive. He may still be 5 in this draft, behind those four. I'm not sure.
I disagree. I think he jumps Lance. I have no doubt about that. I'm not. See, you're in this 2-3 realm right now where we have Zach Wilson and we have Justin Fields.
Yeah.
What's the one, like, there's 2 schools that you avoid traditionally drafting quarterbacks from, and what are those 2 colleges?
Ohio State and
Absolutely.
Alabama.
And what do we just see from a highly touted draft pick out of Ohio State? Dwayne Haskins. Where did he go? What happened?
I mean, I get that. I fully get that. Dwayne Haskins was a train wreck, but Dwayne Haskins was a train wreck coming out of Ohio State. Dwayne Haskins didn't suck because he didn't have the physical tools necessary. He sucked because he was immature and he had character concerns. Justin Fields doesn't have those things.
That's fair.
He's a different prospect, but
it's real hard. It's real hard to ignore like history. History typically repeats itself. There's a reason the same teams in college football play each other for the national title year in, year out.
So boring. God.
Isn't it so boring?
It's so boring.
It's so bad. Like if to kind of derail for a second and just mention one quick thing. If Cincinnati beats Georgia and they wind up going undefeated, and Georgia doesn't beat Cincinnati on a 53-yard field goal.
That kid had balls of steel.
He crushed that ball.
Yeah, he did.
But bottom line, like if they win that, then they have a legitimate argument to open up the playoff more than 4 teams.
And
that's the sad part for me, is that we were so close to getting away from the same freaking 4 teams in the college football playoff, because I have very, very little desire to watch Alabama play Ohio State in the national championship. I just don't care.
At least it's not Clemson.
If it was the same game 3 years in a row, I would have cried my eyes out.
Also, as like I love Notre Dame. I've been to Notre Dame. I went to Chicago over a decade ago, and we went and visited Notre Dame.
What are they doing?
I'm done seeing Notre Dame in the college football playoff. They just absolutely get rolled every damn time they're in it, and I'm done seeing them. So
hey, I'll give them this. Notre Dame got bigger, they got stronger, but they need way more speed on the outside to compete with these SEC and ACC teams.
And you're not gonna run the ball. You're not going to run the ball against a Nick Saban defense. Like what are you doing? And I know, like, hey, we're Sacramento locals, and Ian Book, the quarterback for Notre Dame, went to a local high school. I respect the hell out of the guy. They need better quarterback play as well.
Ian Book is a 5th round, 6th round pick, maybe.
He might go undrafted just because he's a small kid.
Well, I mean, he might, like, 5th, 6th round. I could see someone coming up to get him.
Yeah,
but to kind of come back around with this whole Josh Rosen thing, I'm unsure on Fields' success in the NFL. It's not a for sure thing, and we know that.
Yeah.
Zach Wilson. Now, there's been reports kind of both ways, on the sense that that one report came out that he was a spoiled rich kid, that there were character issues.
His uncle owns JetBlue.
Is it uncle or dad?
Uncle.
His uncle owns. Yeah, spoiled little rich kid, and those are going to be issues in the locker room in the NFL. And then another report came out that said, "Oh, that's not the problem. He has the locker room. Everyone loves him." But who knows? Who knows who's right? But there is writing out there that states that he could be a problem. So it's kind of like that Josh Rosen situation, where if Zach Wilson, if he goes to a crap program, because he's used to winning, he won at BYU.
Mhm.
Like he went up, he didn't lose many games. He won in high school, he won in college. He has that expectation. He's never dealt with going 4-12,
Right.
3-13, and on a shit team with a
Yeah.
terrible line. Like,
Yeah.
take a look at BYU's offensive line this year. Holy smokes. They gave him I watched plays where he had 3,
4 or
4,
5. Yeah.
5 seconds to
Yeah.
throw the ball, and he didn't have anything, and it was like,
Yeah.
hey, the pocket's still good, but I'm gonna run out anyway and create something. You
'Cause
can't
no
do
one's
that in
open.
the
Yeah.
NFL. He's
No.
not fast enough, he's
No.
not big enough, he's not strong enough. I have like, everyone's kind of fallen in love with Zach Wilson, and yeah, I think he would be able to succeed in a Kyle Shanahan offense,
Mhm.
but I don't think he's good enough to overcome all of the draft capital that you would have to give up
Yeah.
and the free agents that the 49ers need to re-sign, but they would not be able to re-sign. He's not that talent. He's not that level. So when I look at
Yeah.
that stuff, I'm like, Josh Rosen falls somewhere he would, in my mind, Fields, Wilson, Lance, he mixes in somewhere in those three.
Mhm.
So yeah,
On pure talent
your
alone.
article
Sure.
is spot on. The
Thanks, man.
49ers do have a top 10 quarterback
Yeah.
that they need to develop. Like, they
And not
might have struck
waste
gold.
draft capital doing it.
They might have absolutely struck gold with picking him up. And we talked about it weeks ago that was the guy that, man, I remember looking you in the eye and telling you
Mhm.
they need to pick up Josh Rosen off Tampa Bay's practice squad.
Well, and when they did, which was like December 22nd, it wasn't that long ago. Obviously, they haven't had a whole lot of time with Rosen to evaluate him regardless. But when they plucked him off the practice squad, when I feel like we had conversations on the podcast about this, and one of the things that I said was, if I'm Josh Rosen, why am I leaving the Tampa Bay practice squad, even though it's just a practice squad? Because I know that this team is going to make it into the playoffs and has Super Bowl aspirations. Why would I leave that to go somewhere else? And so an article came out that said he had been given multiple opportunities to leave that practice squad and join an active roster, and he rebuffed those offers until the 49ers came, and he felt like that was the right one to take. And so,
Smart.
what I'm wondering is there something that the 49ers told him, basically like, hey, we're gonna sign you now, we're gonna add you to the active roster, but you're also gonna have a spot next year. We want to see what we can develop with you. And here, bottom line, they upgraded the back end of their quarterback room immediately when they signed Josh Rosen.
Yeah,
Right.
tenfold.
They upgraded their backup quarterback position significantly.
Bye-bye, Mullins.
Yeah.
Bye-bye, Beathard.
And maybe because you have Josh Rosen, you are more comfortable bringing Jimmy Garoppolo back, because the question is Jimmy Garoppolo going to stay healthy? Because if he's not, CJ Beathard and Nick Mullins can't do anything for us. But if you've now got Josh Rosen and CJ Beathard, or Josh Rosen and Nick Mullins, well, now if Jimmy Garoppolo gets injured, you have more confidence saying, I'm going to send Josh Rosen in. Let's not forget, Josh Rosen as a rookie beat the 49ers twice. He beat the so
it's true.
They've seen him play. They've seen, they've experienced his ability. And again, his numbers aren't great. I'm not, and I'm not trying to say that Josh Rosen is the second coming, but if he has the opportunity to develop in a system like Kyle Shanahan's, with the type of talent that the 49ers have,
God,
let's just see.
Think, man.
Let's just see.
If Josh Rosen gets a chance to study and then throw to Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel
and George Kittle
and George Kittle, and he's protected by Trent Williams, and if McGlinchey figures it out, and we have Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr. in the backfield, Thunder. I'm gonna call them Thunder and Lightning. That's what those two running backs are gonna be. He has everything at his disposal. I think he's going to be successful. He's going to have a good defense where if he does make a mistake, it's not backbreaking. Where if you throw a pick and you're like, oh God, the game's over now. Like I just gave them an extra possession, it's done. Like he went to teams, Arizona and the Dolphins, where if you threw a pick or you fumbled the ball and you gave them an extra possession, like game was pretty much over at
Game
that
over.
point. The
Yeah.
teams they weren't good.
Yeah.
So I'm real excited about this Josh Rosen possibility if it's played correctly. And you said it perfectly, and I loved hearing it. The 49ers quarterback room with the Josh Rosen signing, we're not expecting him to walk in next year and be a starter, but Jimmy Garoppolo as the starter and Josh Rosen as the backup, that's a damn good quarterback room.
Absolutely.
Damn good. And I'm not saying Garoppolo is an elite top 5, top 10 talent, but he wins. He wins.
Mm-hmm.
And our backup,
At
Josh
an impressive
Rosen,
rate.
a highly, highly recruited college player coming out, a top 10 draft pick with great fundamentals, great footwork. And I think he is untapped potential. He's going to be good, man. That's a great
and if you allow him to develop, right, which
Mhm.
means that he's going to get in the preseason in 2021, he'd get in the preseason in 2022. If Jimmy Garoppolo balls out and you get to the Super Bowl and you win the Super Bowl, and you extend Jimmy Garoppolo, the worst case scenario is you could flip Josh Rosen for draft assets again. Especially if he shows what he can do in the preseason. And so it's really a win-win situation for the 49ers. There's no scenario where this is a loss for them. And again, I know people are in love with Zach Wilson. People are in love with Trey Lance. People are in love with Justin Fields, right? I've seen mock-ups of Fields in a number 1 49ers jersey. I've seen Wilson in mock-ups in a number 1 red and gold Niners jersey. But the reality is they're not in position to get those guys unless they mortgage the future. So if you're willing to mortgage the future for a quarterback, you better be damn sure that quarterback is going to pan out. And I don't think you can be. You can't. No. So let's bring Jimmy back. Let's restructure his deal. Let's have a quarterback that's 24 years old developing in the background. See what Jimmy can do next season if he can stay healthy. If he can't, you've got Rosen to come in, and then you again see what you have in Rosen. And worst case scenario, now you're looking at quarterback in 2022 maybe, right? But the Super Bowl window is open. Whether people believe that or not, the Super Bowl window is open. You look at the roster and you see, you've got Brandon Ayuk, he's 22, Deebo Samuel's 24, Nick Bosa's 23, Fred Warner's 24, George Kittle is 27 years old. This team has a significant amount of young talent on it.
Yeah. A lot of core.
And if you can just hit on that quarterback position, which you know what you have in Jimmy Garoppolo, he's led you to a Super Bowl. If he can stay healthy, there's no reason to think that he can't lead you back or win you a Super Bowl. Is he going to win a shootout? Is he going to win a shootout with Patrick Mahomes? No, he's not.
Probably no.
And maybe that's the issue, right? You have to kind of measure everything against who you think you're going to be facing. And let's face it, the Chiefs look like they've got a juggernaut for a long time. Okay. The AFC is going to go
when they start paying Patrick Mahomes, though, when they start paying him,
which I believe is next season,
they might have one more year, but they're going to start paying him this just astronomical sum.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to have the pieces around him, and they're not going to have a defense, and they're going to have to put up 50 points a game. And maybe they can, and they're not going to be able to have Watkins, and they're not going to be able to have Hill and Kelsey and Le'Veon Bell and all of these Pro Bowl caliber players,
a dominant offensive line.
They're just not going to have that. So what they're doing, and it's a brilliant strategy, is they're shooting their shot when they have this window with the best quarterback in the game. Patrick, no question about it, Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in the game.
For sure.
Surround him with a ton of talent in his first few years, and then sign him to a uber long deal. You're going to pay him give him the farm. But bottom line, you're going to give him that because he's the best quarterback in the league. And when you can't have a ton of talent around him, he's going to give you the best shot to win anyway.
Yeah.
They're always going to be a contender. They're not going to be a juggernaut like they are this year and they were kind of last year.
Yeah. So, does Jimmy Garoppolo, win you a shootout against Patrick Mahomes? Probably 9 times out of 10, no. But, maybe one time out of 10.
If he gets that one pass, if he makes that one deep ball.
Right. And
the
the
higher discussion is different.
Totally. And the 49ers are not built to get into shootouts. They're built to, control the clock, run the ball, pass to keep the defense honest, and, let their defense do what their defense does. And so, like I said, I just think they have nothing to lose. And, financially speaking, they honestly, they can't afford to mortgage the future to get one of these top 4 guys. And so, get a corner in the first round, get an interior offensive lineman in the second round. They're going to get a 3rd round compensatory pick when Saleh becomes a head coach somewhere. Use your 3rd round pick to, maybe, add some depth to the safety position, whatever. But you have so many avenues open to you if you're not trading away all your picks to get this quarterback.
Yeah, that's true.
Football's a team sport, man.
I know, and it would be nice to get a young quarterback that can last a long time in this league, and we don't have this debate year in and year out.
And there's a team that kid.
Yeah, there's only one team in the NFC West that has had one quarterback since 2012.
Yeah, and that's Russell Wilson and the Seahawks.
And that's a perfect segue kind of to lead us right into previewing the Seattle Seahawks game on tomorrow, actually.
Yeah.
This isn't going to be a long in-depth.
No, we're 45 minutes away from it being today.
Yeah, fair enough. This isn't going to be a super in-depth analysis of the Seahawks versus the 49ers, because quite frankly, this is a game where I see the Seahawks competing it's a far off possibility. It's not unrealistic, but it's far off of competing for that number 1 seed in the NFC. And the 49ers are bringing out another JV team.
And that JV team has brought up some guys from the freshman squad. So it's
to quote an article, to quote a part of an article that was written that has like 30 something thousand reads in like 11 hours. Yikes.
Exactly.
Yikes.
So the 49ers on Sunday will be without 13 of their projected starting 22 at the beginning of this season. Now, some of these guys have been out for a long time, and we knew that they weren't going to be playing on in week 17. But I just thought it would be interesting to take a look at those 13 players. So on Sunday against the Seattle Seahawks in week 17, a repeat of last year's week 17 matchup, this time in the beautiful home of the Glendale 49ers. The 49ers will be without quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo, running back Raheem Mostert, wide receiver Deebo Samuel, wide receiver Brandon Ayuk, left tackle Trent Williams, center Ben Garland, D tackle Javon Kinlaw, defensive end Nick Bosa, defensive end D Ford, linebacker Dre Greenlaw, corner Richard Sherman, cornerback K'Wan Williams, and strong safety Jaquiski Tart.
So many people.
Those are just the starters that are out. There are also a significant number of backups who also will be out. And so the Seahawks come into this game needing a win to have any shot at the number 1 seed in the NFC. And the number 1 seed is important this year because it's the only team that gets a bye in the first round of the playoffs. They moved from 6 teams to 7 teams. They added an additional wild card. And by adding that extra team, they took away the bye from the top 2 seeds. So the number 1 seed is important. The Green Bay Packers currently have that with a record of 12-3. Next is the New Orleans Saints and the Seattle Seahawks, who are both 11-4. If the Green Bay Packers, who are playing the Chicago Bears on Sunday, if Green Bay wins, they clinch the first round bye with a record of 13-3. Or they clinch it with a Seattle Seahawks loss. Okay. The New Orleans Saints, who are playing the Carolina Panthers without quite literally any of their running backs, because their entire running back room and their running backs coach are on the COVID list.
I wonder if Taysom Hill is going to play running back.
Man, I actually, based on an earlier jaunt through the waiver wire in my fantasy league, because I am playing for a fantasy championship in 2 leagues.
Toot your own horn. Toot, toot, toot.
Ty Montgomery, I believe, will be suiting up for said New Orleans Saints. The Saints play the Panthers. If they win and Green Bay loses, New Orleans clinches a first round bye, even if Seattle wins. And then the last scenario is Seattle clinching a first round bye if they beat the 49ers, and then Green Bay and New Orleans both lose. So those are the situations. Green Bay, New Orleans, and Seattle are all playing in that 1 o'clock window. So all of them have to play and play to win, because they're trying to get that number 1 seed. The likelihood that the 49ers, when they're trotting out Justin School at left tackle and CJ Beathard at quarterback, and not Ayuk, Deebo Samuel and not Brandon Ayuk at wide receiver. As a matter of fact, Trent Taylor is also on the COVID list. And so the 49ers activated Jordan Matthews.
So we're going to have probably River Craycraft. We're going to have Jordan Matthews. We're going to have Richie James Jr., Kendrick Bourne.
And that's it.
That's our receiving core, y'all. I don't know how, like, we're not going to complete a pass more than 10 yards down the field.
Well, I mean, you'll see Richie James Jr., man. Richie James Jr.
He's going to get 30 targets. 30.
I know, right? Here's the other thing about this game that would have made it difficult anyway, even if Williams and Ayuk were playing. The Seattle Seahawks defense, which was an absolute dumpster fire for the first, I was going to say the first half of the season, but honestly, well, no, like the first half of the season. In the last 5 games, the Seahawks have given up an average of 15 points a game. Now, that sounds super impressive, and I'm not trying to take anything away from them. Their defense is playing significantly better, like unbelievably better. But in their last 5 games, they played the Eagles, the Giants, the Jets, the football team, and the LA Rams. So they haven't played juggernauts, offensive juggernauts, but
considering the Rams lost to us twice,
they did.
They did. So there are definitely some holes, and it's always harder to play division opponents. The football team beat us. But the Eagles beat us.
Well, here's the thing: the football team didn't beat us. The football team won against us because Nick Mullins beat us.
Fucking Nick Mullins.
That's the reality of that situation. The football team, had 193 total yards of offense against the 49ers. So again, not an offensive juggernaut. And the football team, when they played the Seahawks, they were starting Dwayne Haskins at quarterback, and Dwayne Haskins had spent some time at the strip club not long before that game, so he had little thoughts of
priorities, man,
boobies and
priorities.
things like that in his head. So he
He's
wasn't.
not, is Dwayne Haskins still in the NFL? I think he's
No, not right now.
Yeah, he's not signed right now, right?
No, they released him and nobody picked him up. And I mean, I imagine he'll find his way onto a roster at some point in the offseason, but no one's going to sign him now. And so, they like I said, they haven't played offensive juggernauts, but they're still only giving up 15 points a game. They're playing significantly better. Carlos Dunlap has done wonders for their pass rush. They're not blitzing as much anymore, which has allowed their secondary to not be as exposed as it had been when they were blitzing, out of their minds. It's like they got Jamal Adams and they're like, oh, look at this shiny new toy who blitzes really well. Let's just blitz him all the time. And then they're like, well, wait a minute. We're really exposing our back end here. Let's go ahead and and dial it back a little bit. And so they've kind of found themselves. But the other thing is their offense actually has regressed since the last time the 49ers played them. So
it's true.
I just don't think they can score enough points against this team to make it competitive.
No, they can't. But I think I know who Dwayne Haskins is going to go to in the offseason.
The Vegas Raiders.
The Raiders. Perfect fit for the Raiders.
Based on his proclivities.
That's right. There's a ton of strip clubs in Vegas. Allegedly. I don't know. I've never been there. That's not true. I've been to Vegas a bunch of times, but I'm not going to say I've been to any Vegas strip clubs. You're not going to hear me say that.
I've been to Vegas once, only one time.
Was it fun?
Recently, actually. But yeah. So, like I said, normally we do like a 3rd and long, 3 matchups that will go a long way to determining the outcome of the game. There's just not a lot to talk about in this game. And so
is Russell Wilson going to play at Russell Wilson's capability?
Yeah.
Okay. Is the 49ers offense going to be able to maintain and keep pace with the Seahawks? And then bottom line is who's going to catch a football? Like, I don't know.
George Kittle, Richie James Jr., Kendrick Bourne, and I'm hoping our boy River Craycraft.
Come on, River.
Come on, River. Come on, baby.
A river runs through the desert in
Arizona. Let's do it. So we're going to watch the game. We'll recap the game on Monday night. More than likely, that's going to be a terrible Tuesday. But hey, if it's a triumphant Tuesday, I will celebrate because we're
still going to root. We're still going to cheer. We're not hoping for a tank.
Sure.
We are.
I'm not hoping for a loss. I just don't think they can do it.
No, it's just we are thinking with our brains, and it's just not likely. So, do you have a score prediction for tomorrow?
I think that the Seahawks are going to end up winning this game 31-17.
Okay. That's pretty good. I think the Seahawks are going to. I think what's going to happen is I think this game's going to kind of be over early.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Seahawks are going to kind of put it on the 49ers in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to see much. We might actually get to see Rosen in the second half.
I actually really hope we do. I want to watch this game, and the one thing I'm hoping for is that Rosen does get in there and sees a little bit of action. That's what I'm hoping for.
That would be nice. So I think what we're going to see is we're going to see a score somewhere around 30-31 from the Seahawks, and we're going to see 13 points, 17 points from the 49ers. And a lot of those points are going to come late in the game when the game's already wrapped up and the Seahawks are in prevent defense. Some of their backups are in. It's just
I think Rosen's going to dice up a prevent defense.
And what we're going to get, what I would love to see is for Rosen to go for 200 yards in the second half for 2 touchdowns. And then the entire offseason is erupted into who's going to be the quarterback. Do we draft? Is Rose like this whole situation that we kind of talked about for the last hour is going to be, we're going to turn the dial up to 10. And now not only is it a draft pick, Is it Rosen? Is it Garoppolo? Who knows? And it's going to make for a very exciting offseason.
Yeah, it'll definitely give us content, which is always good.
We do love the
Always
content.
good. Yes, we do. All right. Well, that's all we have for you this evening. Hey, Tim, my compliments to your internet. You did not drop out once, my friend.
That's what I'm talking about, baby.
So perhaps
we might be able to pull this off.
Yeah. And if
What I
we
got
can,
going on is a hotspot, and this is completely different. And you have to find the exact right spot in the house because we don't get very good cell service out here.
You do not.
It's tucked up in a corner right by the computer. Shouldn't be getting cell service, but I looked on there and I had 2 bars. So
there you go.
So I didn't touch it. And we're just going to go with it. And we're going to see if this works in the future. So
and hey, like we said, if this was a dry run to see if it worked, and if it did, then we'll start promoting this. So far in this live stream, we've had a grand total of 0 viewers, which is to be expected.
Because we didn't advertise it on this.
Or anything.
No one knows. Like, to be able to watch this, you would have to hack into this feed. And
no, you could go to YouTube, and you could search Denim Dungeon, and we have our own channel. And right now we are broadcasting live on that channel. And after this, the video will be available for you to watch. I mean, if you're interested in seeing my mug and Tim's new badass hat he got for his birthday.
Thank you for that. Thank you for this hat there. B Rennick at B Rennick 77.
That's right.
It's got a pretty kick-ass.
Tim turned 39 yesterday, January 1st. He's a New Year's baby. And so he is going to celebrate this last year of his dirty 30s. And I got him a new Niner hat. And
it's dope. I love this hat. This hat is phenomenal. So thank you. And it's got the George Kittle signature and number on the little stitch in on the side. It's a great hat. It fits well. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on Twitter, where they could find our podcast, where they can find your article and read that, because it's worth a read. If you haven't read it already, please do. So tell them where they can find it, Brian.
Yeah. So the article, which is now at 34,736 views since we started, it just keeps blowing my mind. Like I said, it probably, in the grand scheme of articles, it's probably nothing. But for me, it is it's a huge accomplishment. So I'm excited about it. But anyway, both of us write editorials at 49erswebzone.com. You can find me on the Twitters at BRenick77. That's at BRENICK 77. You can find Timbo Sleazy on the Twitters at Tim Sprinkles. You're pointing at your name. It just says Timbo, though. It does.
I know. I didn't write in my name. So normally in the future, right there, it's going to say at Tim Sprinkles, TIMSPRINKLES.
And then you can follow the podcast Twitter account at Denim Dungeon. And then again, if you are listening to this, you can find this video of our faces talking 49er football. Just Google, or not Google, but go to YouTube and type in Denim Dungeon. We've got our own channel. It's going to have one video on it, and it's this video. So if you are listening to the podcast and then you want to re-listen to the podcast, but you want to do so with some visuals, you are more than welcome to do so. But please make sure to subscribe to the podcast on whatever podcast platform you're using. Rate it, review it if you're feeling nasty. And we will continue to put out content over the off season. We are going to kind of discuss offline what we want that to look like. I've thrown around some ideas in my brain about breaking down quarterback prospects, wide receiver prospects, kind of going that route. Also, just talking all the off season storylines. Where's Robert Saleh going? Is he going to take any coaches with him? Who's going to be the new D coordinator? All these things are more than likely to happen, and we'll be discussing those. So make sure to stay tuned to the channel, and then we will be back Monday night to record, and then Tuesday morning you'll have it in your podcast feed. We will recap what we have predicted to be a Seattle Seahawks stomping of the San Francisco 49ers. But this has been fun. I enjoyed seeing your face as we talked, which is cool. Normally we don't do that. We don't ever record in the same place. Tim's always at his house. I'm always at mine. We use a web-based program that we use to record, but we don't get to see our face. So it was fun to stare at you while we talked 49er football.
Yeah. And getting to show off my first time my 49ers office. I got all this 49er garb back here with pennants, and I don't know if you can see behind me. We got
boxes.
You got those old Wheaties boxes up here, and right there we got the 49ers 1994 team. We got the Steve Young one up there, 49er helmet, just decking out. I only get I get like an 8x8 square foot piece of our house. My wife has fully decorated. That's right. The rest of the house, I don't get any of it. I get this little tiny space connected to our kids' craft playroom area.
That's right.
And so I'm gonna go full tilt bozo when it comes to decorating 49ers in this office.
Let the 49ers throw up all up in that house.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right. So again, we'll be back Monday night. But until then, bang, bang.
Niner gang.